They said the cave swallowed everything, light, sound, even hope. No one who ever entered it was seen again. Locals whispered it was cursed, a wound in the mountain that led straight into the earth's heart. For decades it stood there, silent, dark, patient. And now one woman stood before it, her hand trembling slightly as her loyal German shepherd pressed against her leg, sensing the fear she tried to hide. The wind carried sand and memory, brushing against her face as if warning her to turn back. But she wouldn't, not this time, because somewhere inside that darkness lay the truth about her brother. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unbreakable loyalty of animals, take a moment to like, comment, share and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Every story here is a reminder that courage comes in many forms, sometimes even on four legs. The woman's name was Ilara. She had grown up in the shadow of this mountain, listening to tales of the cursed cave where people vanished without a trace. Her brother Noah had disappeared there 3 years ago. He had been a researcher obsessed with old maps and strange energy readings. Everyone had told her to let him go, to accept that the cave had taken him. But she couldn't. Not when she still woke up at night hearing his voice in dreams, calling her name faintly, almost as if from underground. For years she waited, searching for signs, clinging to hope that everyone else had long buried. It wasn't until a week ago that she found something, a small, rusted compass half buried near the mountain trail, with Noah's initials scratched faintly on the back. It was the same compass he'd carried the day he vanished. That was enough for Ilara. She knew it was a sign, and she knew she wouldn't go alone. Her German shepherd Kiro had been by her side since the search first began. He was just a pup when Noah disappeared, but somehow he always reacted strangely when they neared the mountain, growling low, ears stiff, tail between his legs. But that morning, as the sky broke into gold and crimson hues, Kiro didn't resist. He walked ahead of her as if he'd finally decided it was time. The trail wound through red sand and jagged rocks that looked like frozen waves. Every step echoed with weight, the weight of memory, fear, and determination. The mouth of the cave grew larger as she approached, a yawning void carved into the mountain's chest. The air grew cooler, stiller. Even the wind seemed to stop whispering once she stood before it. Kiro looked up at her, eyes glistening in the dim light, waiting for her command. "Let's find him," she whispered, her voice barely audible, but Kiro heard. Inside, the light died quickly. The cave swallowed it whole. Ilara's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating ancient carvings on the walls, strange symbols, circles, lines that intertwined like a language older than time. The deeper they went, the more the air changed. It felt heavier, denser, almost alive. Water dripped from the ceiling, echoing through the silence like a heartbeat. And with every step she could feel something, a presence, a pull, as though the mountain itself was watching. After what felt like hours, the path split into 2 tunnels. Ilara hesitated, uncertain which to take. But Kiro stepped forward, nose twitching, tail raised. He sniffed the air, then barked once, sharply, before turning left. She trusted him, as always. They followed the narrow path until the air grew colder, and the walls began to glisten with a faint blue shimmer, like frost trapped in stone. That's when she saw it, a torn piece of fabric caught between 2 rocks. Her heart stopped. It was the same pattern as Noah's hiking jacket. She fell to her knees, touching it with shaking hands, tears filling her eyes. Kiro whined softly and licked her hand, grounding her back to reality. She knew she was close, but the cave wasn't silent anymore. A deep rumble rolled beneath their feet. Pebbles tumbled down from the ceiling. The air shifted violently. Kiro barked, ears up, eyes focused on the darkness ahead. Something was moving. Ilara held her flashlight tight, pointing it forward. For a brief moment she thought she saw a figure, tall, motionless, standing at the edge of the light. And then it was gone. Her breathing quickened. Fear clawed at her throat, but she pressed on. She didn't come this far to turn back. The tunnel opened into a vast cavern, a hidden chamber glowing faintly with light from crystals embedded in the walls. In the center lay something unexpected, a pool of still water so clear it reflected like glass. And beside it, a satchel. Noah's satchel. She ran toward it, falling to her knees. Inside were his notes, water-damaged but legible, pages filled with sketches of the cave, descriptions of magnetic fields, and a final unfinished line. "It's not a curse. It's a door." Ilara froze, reading it over and over. A door to what? She didn't have time to wonder, because at that moment the ground trembled again, harder this time. Cracks spread across the floor. Kiro barked frantically, circling her, tugging at her sleeve as if urging her to move. And then she saw it. On the far wall, partially hidden behind a curtain of rock, was a narrow fissure glowing faintly with the same blue light as the crystals. She approached it slowly, heart pounding. The moment she touched the stone, warmth spread through her hand, impossible warmth, alive, pulsing. The fissure widened with a deep, thunderous sound, revealing a hidden passage that descended deeper into the earth. Kiro stepped back, whining. Ilara hesitated, fear tearing at her resolve. But then she heard it, faint, almost inaudible, carried through the echoing dark. Her name, Ilara. Her knees went weak. It was Noah's voice. She didn't think. She just ran, down the passage, past glowing veins of light, through the echo of unseen whispers. The air grew warmer, brighter. The tunnel opened into a small chamber, and there, half collapsed against a rock wall, was a man. His clothes were torn, hair long and matted, but his face was unmistakable. It was Noah. She fell to her knees, sobbing, wrapping her arms around him. He was weak, disoriented, barely conscious. Kiro pressed close, licking Noah's hand, whining softly. Tears streamed down Ilara's cheeks as she whispered his name over and over, as if afraid he'd disappear if she stopped. For a long moment, the world stood still, the mountains silent, time suspended. When Noah finally opened his eyes, there was confusion and wonder in them. His voice was hoarse, broken. He told her he had found something beneath the mountain, a strange chamber that distorted time. To him, only days had passed. To her, 3 long years. He had survived on water from the cavern pool, guided by an inexplicable sense that he wasn't alone. "Something protected me," he murmured, his gaze falling on Kiro, who sat watching quietly, ears perked. It took all her strength to help him out. The way back felt endless, every step heavier, every echo louder. The cave seemed to resist their leaving, but Kiro led the way, growling at every sound until the first hint of daylight shimmered ahead. When they finally emerged from the darkness, the sun bathed them in gold. Ilara collapsed to her knees, crying, her hands clutching the earth as Noah knelt beside her. For the first time in years, she felt warmth not from the sun, but from hope, alive, fierce, and real. The mountain behind them stood silent again. The cave's shadow stretched long and dark, but it no longer felt threatening. It felt peaceful, almost as if it had released something it had guarded for too long. That night, as they camped near the base, Kiro rested between them, his head on Ilara's lap. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "Thank you." Maybe she wasn't speaking to the sky or the mountain or even fate. Maybe she was thanking the one creature who had believed in her when everyone else had given up, her loyal companion who never let her walk alone into the dark. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in the power of loyalty, courage, and love that transcends fear, please like, share, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Your support helps us keep bringing stories of hope and humanity to life. Special request, tell us in the comments, if you had to face your deepest fear, which animal would you trust to walk beside you?